in this journal are great articles about the issues we're talking about. One of them is a bench card, but everybody can use it. It's just that in this form, it doesn't have the pullout that it does in the Technical Assistance Bulletin, which has a pull-out bullet card, easy to photocopy. You can get those if you get a hold of the council. All this is fantastic. People were mentioning about some websites. Kelly Hoffman has done a fantastic job on the Through the Eyes of the Child website, providing all kinds of information and hot links to websites, including the National Council of Juvenile Family Court Judges, 0 to 3, the AB, on and on and on, where you can hot link and go to particular areas of information you want, and it's easy to surf and do. So I want to thank Kelly for putting that together. It's just like easy to stop there and grab it, so it's fantastic. Now, wanted to talk a little bit about a project we started 3 years ago, and it's to focus on 0 to 3, and then it became 3 to 5. I'll tell you why later. We just celebrated 3 years, and here's why. Dr. Hall noted, if I take 0 to 5, a quarter of all the kids in care, 517,000 in America right now, are there. 1/3 of the 0 to 3 piece. When they're in, they stay twice as long. They experience the worst foster care drift there is. We know from the science, all you got to do is bounce them around and you will rip them up. They will not hardwire for social and emotional growth and development. So since we know it's the most formative, we thought, well then, why not help these little people? Seemed like a good idea. But then somebody said, but Judge, aren't you being prejudiced? I said, yeah, I am. That's right. I'm going to try to put some money where it will do the most good and put the resources where it will do the most good. Not abandoning anybody else, but I've got limited court time, and so I'm going to try to focus it and drill down for this population. If I had more judges and more time, we'd drill down for everybody. 70% of the kids in care, or 70% of the reason for kids in care is parental mental health, substance abuse, and all the other co-occurring issues. So, we know that Family Drug Treatment Court's been up for what? Dozen years, at least? And the Adult Drug Treatment Court model has been there before that. And it's great except for the normal way those courts work is follow my orders, get better, or go to jail. Ours is follow the orders or your kids don't go home and your rights could be terminated. So we had to work out what works best in our context of child welfare. So we partnered with all the experts. That's why all of you are here, experts in various fields, because nobody can do it alone. So we took what we could find out about what works with parents whose kids are in foster care who have mental health and substance abuse issues. Most of these parents had early childhood trauma that was unaddressed. There's been sexual assaults nobody knows about, post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of self-medication, depression, anxiety that was never treated. And we wonder why drugs are so cool. You feel better. Why do you think happy hours are so great? Except for if we don't cross the line, we don't get busted, right? So we got to keep working with everybody because the ground shifts all the time. So we work with the National Council of Juvenile Family Court Judges, 0 to 3, Early Development Network, the department, VNA, the clinicians, etc. And here's what the response was. Nice, but we'll need an environmental impact study, a warranty, recall bulletins, recycling facilities, and 24-hour customer support. They told me, what are you, crazy? Yeah. And I said, here's the problem. You're living a basic life. The bird flaps its wings up, down, and does just fine. The dog, bark, don't bark, bark, he's fine. The guy, left foot, right, but that poor frog, hop, rest, dang, and falls over. That's what I experience in court. The basic routine doesn't work. And that's why we have prolonged foster care, foster drift, and these kids have developmental delays and damages. What's that definition of insanity? Repeating the behavior and thinking something's going to change? Yeah, I think my therapist helped me through that. I said, you're not crazy. Called Dr. Hall. So what's our mission? Well, it's kind of wordy. Let me give you the short version. Isn't that what this is about? If we help the parents, we help the children. Now, I can't split this up, but we're looking at bad parenting. There goes that mother duck. And then boom. Now, if I had fancy techno abilities, I would have done them one at a time. I don't know how to do that. You get the point. Now, what is so good about this duck compared to the parents we see who come into our court? They keep walking. They didn't see what happened. I was doped up. I'm not there. I'm not attentive. I missed it. Well, that duck was a smart duck. I don't know what she's going to do about it, but. So, goals for kids. Get a safe home within 12 months or sooner. We'll talk about why one of the goals for this year's Commission on Children of the Courts is due process progression standards, and why having a 90-day adjudication statute makes no sense to me at all, when most states are 30 days on a non-jury preponderance of the evidence question. Okay? Why would we burn up 1/4 of the 12-month ASFA clock? First placement's the last. Let's look for foster adoptive placement from day one if we cannot have the child safely home. Have those children live safely with their parents when we can. Now, unfortunately, although SAMHSA gave an $850,000 grant to have an apartment complex where moms could live with their babies, administration changed, governors changed, and they didn't want to do the quarter match. That didn't happen. One of the providers went on with this, brought it down smaller, and now has an apartment complex for 10. Those moms are living safely with their babies. They cannot take the babies out. They have 24-hour, but they are being cared for and they are staying together. A Child Saving Institute provided foster mothers where mom could go live with a foster parent who's trained in infant toddler well-being and provide safety. So if we don't have that, what do? Go to the next thing. Get a safe relative, a sober relative. And if they are in recovery, which is no surprise, I want a minimum of 5 years sobriety. I want a track record. Get the Part C eval from day one hearing. Make the referral. My view is, and I don't know how my colleagues feel, but when it comes to a court order, even pre-adjudication, there is no privilege. The work you might have done before, that's different. But maybe there's a way to work out releases. Concurrent plan from day one. Reunification and adoption. And some say, well, that's not fair. I didn't say which it was going to be. I said it's going to be one or the other. The baby has the right to know I got a safe, stable parent in a timely fashion. Parent has a right to due process and a reasonable chance to get it together. But the parent understands this isn't just about you. This is about this child. And I, as the objective finder of fact, have to look out for both interests. So you get a fair chance, but if you don't take it, other things will happen. And they need to know that from day one. Parents, get involved actively and participate. Get the parenting skills. I'm tired of parenting classes where the certificate comes for attendance, not skill sets. You've got to be able to fly on your own, not just show up and sit in the chair and drink coffee. Get a sober lifestyle, and this is dual diagnosis is what I see. We've got to attend to mental health and substance together, not alone. So when I get only one license on the substance abuse and they don't have the mental health piece, we get into disconnects. So I like dually credentialed best. Sponsor, AA. I'm getting some different opinions about AA. I don't know about what you think, but some of the mental health therapists and even the substance counselors, it's a male model. It wasn't intended for women, and women don't do real well in that. So when I get resistance about, I don't like AA, you're in denial. Get back from me. Well, now wait a minute. Is there another way to do it? Have you ever heard of the 16-step program? That was a new one to me. One of the therapists brought in the information that works, that there are other ways of doing this, the Matrix program, different things. And all I say is, look, I am not a mental health practitioner. I'm not a substance counselor. I'm a judge. I got a rule on evidence. If it sounds reasonable, if it does the job, that's what I want to know. They're getting a fair shake to get better. So if it's not working, let's move on. Aftercare, ongoing supports because these people have to build a new lifestyle. a new way to know how to plan their day and build good relationships and maintain the sobriety that's so hard to achieve. With respect to disputed issues, in a lot of drug courts you will find that if you miss a UA, it's considered dirty. Creatinine level is low, then you probably drank a bunch of water. Well, I was trying to work on this, and when I went and viewed some other drug courts, the parents, especially the ones who use jail, boy, did they go to jail quick. And as soon as they had an excuse for something, it was denial. You didn't follow the rules. And when I was at one site I visited, and this woman didn't go to inpatient. And so the judge saying she's going to jail, she says, but judge, I'm in intensive outpatient. I've got a full-time job. I'm paying a mortgage on my house. All my UAs are clean. What am I doing wrong? Well, I want to do a court order that works. If we're getting the job done, isn't that the main thing? Is it because I said so and I got to prove that I'm powerful? We had a woman who was pregnant. She came back with a suspect UA. Judge, she's using. Remove the baby. She said, Judge, I'm not using. So I say to the people before me, I go, well, what I don't have today that I love to have when I make decisions is evidence. You've given me argument. I've got nothing to rule on. So what we'll do, and what we told all the parents we do is, anything that's disputed, we will set for an evidentiary hearing. If we're not prepared today, then we'll set it for a week from today. So that's what they did. And I said, by the way, did anybody talk to her OBGYN about what's going on with her stage of development for delivery, etc.? Turns out she was clean. Oh, she came back beaming. I thought it was a great teaching moment. I said, you know what? It's so nice to see you stand up for yourself and to be heard. This is a woman who had suffered domestic violence, was used to being told what to do a lot of times. This was a big step for her. And I said, but the people on the team, you might be a little riled at them, but their job is to make sure you're doing what needs to be done for the well-being of your child, and so they're a little nervous. That's their job, checking things out. So, due process. Eligibility. One child, 0 to 5, will take others. Voluntarily adjudicated. There are some exceptions. I've been having more defense attorneys say, Judge, just put my client in this program. And that could be the denial factor. Get involved, participate in the rules. We don't take persons with violent felony charges or convictions, some exceptions, because probably they're going to be going to jail a long time and reunification is not probable. And not already in a criminal drug court. We don't want to duplicate. No severe mental illness where reunification would be unlikely. Key elements of this thing. Facilitated pre-hearing conference is absolutely critical to having this thing start out right. Holistic, the well-being, the relationship between child and parent and child, and permanency. Frequent parenting time. I'm getting tired of the word visitation. I don't know, that seems kind of, I don't know, what you do with your neighbors. You know, or that brother-in-law you don't like. Parenting time, maybe. Have them reside together as soon and safely as we can. Lisa's going to talk about this, but we borrowed from Dr. Osofsky and Dr. Katz and the Miami Model Court the parent-child assessment and dyadic therapeutic parenting time and skill set building that you saw in the video. I think we have to approach this with urgency, triage style. You know, you or I can go to the ER and be comatose. And that team will get on top of things and they'll check you out and poke and plug and check, and you're going to do fine, you know, unless there's something really exceptional. We've got people we can talk to. And we put them in a corner and they kind of sit off to the side instead of us engaging them. So, safe harbor for parents. Could be shelter, domestic violence help. Getting early avals so we can get the kind of treatment that these parents need, and so forth. We intensely monitor this weekly in the beginning. It's very collaborative and non-adversarial unless there's a contested issue. I'll handle that just like I always do. We need to do a service plan that is incrementally based so we don't overwhelm. We use graduated incentives and corrective actions. I used to say sanctions, and I struck that because that's not in the juvenile code. And it gives that thought about jail, which I don't use. Enhanced case management, really hands-on to check progress and services. These are some other things that we found would be very important through the 0 to 3 folks and clinicians, etc. Reading to your child. Diet, exercise, smoking cessation programs, education, job skills, learning how to interview to get a job, put together a resume, time management, a personal daily calendar to know how to follow what you've got to do with concrete steps, hour by hour. Planned healthy activities for the parent, for the social, and so forth. Safety, of course. Friends and family have oftentimes got to change. And random testing frequently observed. That's what everybody said. You want to do what? How are we going to do all that? We're re-looking at our phases right now as we start year 4. Currently it's those 5 things and those are the days, but what we find is people's movement as individuals is much different than any artificial calendar. And so we really want to work with the clinicians about what makes sense in terms of moving. Because, for example, in phase 1, you come every week. And you have random UAs at least 3 times a week plus. Phase 2, you might come back every 2 weeks. Well, what is the thing that makes sense for this individual? And we're trying to work on, does this make sense with what we know now? Incentives are important. Research has showed us that affirmation is the best way to have behavioral change. It's the best way. That's not to say we don't have accountability, but affirmation. So, we'll praise the person. Wow, good job. You know, I'm so glad that you got that restraining order. I told you to do it, and you did do it. You know, that's a good job. A clap for him. Let's give mom a round of hand applause, or let's give dad a hand of applause. Forgiveness is, okay, you made a mistake. That's disappointing. So get back up and let's get walking. 1 foot in front of the other. Let's get moving. You know, relapse is inevitable. Treasure chest. Well, all that is a Tupperware thing with little dollar valued items or whatever. Some lawyers, CASAs, caseworkers, they'll bring stuff now. They'll say, hey, I got something for the treasure chest. You know what the fastest thing was 2 weeks ago? Diapers. Boom, boom, boom. They're gone. You never know what a person needs. Deodorant. When we had Dental Awareness Month, got a whole bunch of toothbrushes and toothpaste and stuff, so we put them in little baggies. All of those, gone. Certificates, medallions for advancement, maybe a gift card for $5 at Target, or, you know, go to the zoo or do something. You don't have to see my bald head as much. Come to court less frequently. Solo parenting time, huge. You can be trusted enough to be a parent on your own. Living together, fantastic thing. Flip side, pay $10 for missing UAs. POW is putting offenders to work. It's a way of doing community service. You might have to go back to 0 days in your progression or even back a whole phase. More treatment, whatever the clinicians say. I found this very effective, to write an essay about what this slip means in terms of your child's eyes. When you missed seeing your child and you hear how your child responded negatively, you know, what are you going to do to make it right with your baby, with your toddler? Sometimes, and I've got a young woman who got into methamphetamine. She's a young banker, college educated, very smart. She argues better than some of the lawyers who come before me. Very quick, a lot smarter than I'll ever be. And relapse again. She even blipped off the map for 30 days. And then we got her back, got her into detox, got her moving forward. And I said, okay, we got to go back to that part about making it right. I said, you know, you can talk a mile a minute, but I don't think it's going in here or going in here in your heart. I'm going to have you serve some meals at a homeless shelter, Because if you keep up this methamphetamine, instead of serving others with the talents you have, you will definitely be on the receiving end of the line. And I mean no disrespect to those people, but you've got something to offer that not all of us in this court have. You're a young, sharp woman, and you are just killing yourself. Go see a TPR hearing, a termination of parental rights hearing, or perhaps an adult drug court setting. I'll say, get picked up with that meth at felony level, you will be gone a long time at the Women's Correctional Center. If it's federal, I don't know if you saw that teacher that had the paraphernalia at one of the Omaha public schools. I mean, that's mandatory sentencing. She is gone. And the only leniency that was allowed there was she was allowed to deliver her baby and then go turn in for prison. So I said, don't think that you can keep messing with this stuff without bigger consequences than we're talking about. Again, coming to court more. We're not using jail. Most of them in the juvenile court setting call it a violation of a valid court order. Some therapists even say it is a form of a retreat. I know a lot of judges who say it works. But what I do every day is not incarcerate people. And in the context of recovery, this could be quite a frequently used thing. And if these people have a disease, and we're trying to distinguish between inability and getting closer through recovery, then why don't I put the parents who don't have substance abuse in jail when they don't follow through on court orders? They're more culpable if it works so well. So I'm finding that affirmation works best, and I'll show you that in a second. Visitation parenting time is never denied unless it's a safety issue. They're high and they can't attend to their child. Now, this is really important, but this is true for everybody. The role of the judge. Judges have to set a problem-solving tone to mirror and model respect, civility, and dignity, which is something a lot of these folks have never, ever experienced. To affirm with accountability, so it is not mushy. It's got teeth, but it is with affirmation. Find a toehold of strength and you can build from there. And sometimes the parents don't even know what they are, but you can find them or build them. Parents have to know, and they come to agree, this baby didn't choose this and deserves a safe, decent life. We talked a little bit about handling contested matters ethically. Collaboration with everybody who's in this room and others working together. But some judges view it like this. Cool, they all look like ants from up here. The high court position every judge really aspires to. Now that's none of my colleagues here. None of my colleagues here. Some of the lawyers view this differently. Although everyone assumed it was a bluff, no one was willing to test it. Warning, guard dog has vicious attorney on retainer. Now, that is not Murphy. She does not look like that poodle at all. No. She's got a field cut. She's got web. She's a swimmer, web feet. They were palace guard dogs, fight to the death. Standard poodles. Here's something different. This is straight through the clinicians. I did not get this in judges school. I don't start off with the balls and strikes that any bean counter can do, pardon me. Did you go to your AA? How many times a week? Did you do your UAs? Did you go to individual? Did you go to group? Did you go to DBT? Blah, blah, blah. I flip it and say, tell me something about your child this week that was a highlight of being a parent. Let's start there. Child-parent relationship. Tell me something that was a highlight. How did it feel? Because that's something they're reclaiming. Feelings, instead of denying them, instead of doping them off. What's your favorite color, food, special toy? What frightens your child? How do you comfort her? Lisa and others help with these questions. How did your child react when your child sees you? Do you see that mom when the baby, mom finally gives the attention on the still face and that baby just gives that, okay, you were a creep for a minute, but now you're back. Describing your child. What books do you read to your baby? And when they say, I don't, oops, we got some stuff to work on. I asked one mom a couple weeks ago, by the way, what lullaby might you sing when you put your baby down? And all of a sudden she starts singing this whole lullaby. Everybody's loving it, and some other mom said, hey, will you teach me that one? I like that one. So those are the questions. Evidence-based outcomes. We need to get a study. We've got about an 85% reunification within 12 months. So far, no recidivism. We use mediation all the time. So if we're going to go to a TPR, I send it straight over to mediation to work it out. What that usually has is voluntary relinquishment, open or contacts adoption or not. And if it's an or not one, then we work out that. We do some grief counseling, and then there's an exit interview. All right, so there's some different options here. Current outcomes, well, about 32 participants, 28 mothers, successful reunification for about 24 children. We just had our 8th commencement Tuesday. 4 moms, 5 toddlers, infants and toddlers. Mostly moms, but some dads, married couple. 2 of the moms had drug-free babies, and the lady I told you about a little bit ago said she wasn't dirty. That baby was clean. So 2 babies, they never came into foster care. I think people can change, and if we believe it, and if we encourage it, wonderful things can happen. But in the case that the parent will not get better or doesn't, we deal with that through timely permanency, and we get this baby adopted, and we don't do foster care bouncing around. Like this changing guy. Latte Jed? See? Who would have thought? Please come see us sometime. We love your feedback. Also, that's our website. You will find a lot of stuff right there on every issue from domestic violence, substance abuse, child abuse, neglect, family violence, juvenile delinquency, et cetera, et cetera.